Calling file number 25354FY, People versus Afeni Muhammad.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Dale Vandenberg on behalf of the people.
Your Honor, Josh Jones, attorney on behalf of Mr. Muhammad, who's standing to my left in the jury box. Mr. Muhammad, please speak.
Yeah, I've got another client. He's supposed to be up here by 10 a.m. Another one. Yeah, he's supposed to be facing like 15, 20 years. Gotta get him off, son. That's a little good. Shit. How you doing?
Shit, what's going on, son?
It's all good. What's your name again, buddy?
Afeni Muhammad, but I also go by Risen Phoenix.
Thank you. You're here today for your probable cause conference. Counsel, are you involved in this some way?
Yes, Your Honor, Catherine O'Meara Bolden, P53823, second chair in this matter.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Very good. And you're asking that this matter be adjourned for discovery, number one, and number two, you want it referred to the Forensic Center for Competency and Culpability. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Counsel does request at this time that Mr. Muhammad be referred to the Forensic Center for the matter. It's my understanding that Mr. Muhammad herself personally objects to the referral at this time.
What is the factual basis that you rely on for the referral?
Your Honor, based upon my observations of the case and in reviewing the case, specifically the police reports, and then again my observations in interacting with Mr. Muhammad, I need to check those two boxes. Meaning, I need to make sure that one, she is competent to stand trial, and then two, that there's not an issue in regards to responsibility or culpability.
I will refer it on both. You know, we only need one to go forward on the competency.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
I will refer it for competency and culpability. They're about going out 4 to 6 weeks. So let's go September. We have a review date on September 3rd at 1 p.m. I will take this off the docket for next week for the preliminary exam, and remove that from the docket.
And does that deal with the people?
That's fine.
It works with the defense, right?
And we're not going to set a date for the preliminary exam at this time until we get the report on competency. That's why we have the review date set up. If it comes in sooner than that, we will reach out to get you in sooner than that. However, my experience in dealing with the Forensic Center lately is it takes 4 to 6 weeks. So we're going to go with that date at this time. Any other matters?
I have nothing further, Your Honor. This will give us time to get that done and the other discovery issues we have, so I have nothing else.
That's absolutely correct, Your Honor.
Very good. Then that concludes this matter.
Thank you.
So yeah, I remember originally she had another court date for the end of this month, but they pushed that back all the way to September so she can get evaluated to see if she's, can stand competent enough to be on trial. You know what I mean? So here's my thing about that. There have been people in situations crazier than hers that have done wilder things than what she has done to multiple people, and they're living in your neighborhoods right now. They are out. They have gotten out because they weren't competent to stand trial. They're being crazy, psycho, whatever. They did like 1 or 2 years in the psych ward or whatever institution they were in, and they're back out. And then they're living right next to you. Now, as far as their background, I don't know what their background looks like. What I can say is the thing that isn't helping is that every single person that you see in these videos talking about her past that are in her early 20s, you know what they say? This has been going on for years. They say she's been crazy from the jump. Something's wrong with her. Something's wrong with her. She's crazy. Every single person is saying the same exact thing. She's been like this. No, something's wrong with her. She's psycho. She's crazy. I don't know if that helps her case or not. This girl right here. But if they're all saying that, what do you think they're going to, and this is her in real life acting this way. What do you think they're going to evaluate? Like when they evaluate her, what are they going to come up with? Even crazy people plan stuff. They plan to do crazy stuff. We'll see what happens, man. I mean, if you know this guy right here, right? Poetic Flacco from No Jumper. I remember one time he told a story about his cousin. I believe it was his cousin. Now this story does have to has something to do kind of like postpartum, sort of like that. She killed her kids, her child. I don't remember how old her baby was, and got off. I think he said she did 2 years or a year or something like that in like a psych ward or something, or a mental institution. And then she's out. She's out chilling, living her life. And he's just like, she's just doing whatever now. Like, it's whatever. It's like nothing happened. You can search online and Google things and find cases like this everywhere where people have gotten off for unaliving multiple people, guns, knives, all types of stuff, man. So with her, I don't know what's going to happen. If everybody named Mama saying she been crazy, something's wrong with her, that y'all helping her case for her to get out. Oh yeah, and don't be surprised. She has a big support system too. There's a lot of people that support her. There's a lot of fans out there. So yeah, don't be surprised if you see any of them floating around. It is what it is. Every serial killer that is popularized, that they all got the Manson thing. Remember that you know what I mean? So don't be surprised. It's how it is. It is what it is. I know people hate that phrase. It is what it is, but where else can you go from here? So we'll see what happens.
Here is what we learned from the court. So probable cause hearings in Michigan is usually where bail, a plea negotiation, stipulations, other procedural aspects, those are all discussed. It's not exactly what happened here. The hearing ultimately ended up being adjourned after Muhammad's defense attorney requested a competency evaluation, citing concerns about her mental state. And this was based both on police reports and his own interactions with her. Now, here's something interesting. Muhammad, the defendant, reportedly objected to this referral, but the judge approved it nonetheless. So now she's going to undergo a mental health evaluation, which our understanding can typically take 4 to 6 weeks. No further court action is going to proceed until that report is returned. I want to bring on forensic psychiatrist Dr. Dan.
So what I'm hearing, she was just like, "Nah, I'm good. I ain't crazy." And then her lawyer guy was just like, "No, you got some loose marbles." Hey, judge, approved. The judge said, "Oh yeah, she look crazy." Bonk.
Daniel Bober to discuss this. Doctor, thanks so much for coming back here on Sidebar. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jesse.
What are the specific indicators that a forensic psychiatrist would look for to determine whether a defendant, a criminal defendant like Afeni Muhammad, whether or not she's competent to stand trial? Because competency is a very specific definition. It's not insanity.
Right. So competency is a moving target. Someone could be competent 1 week and they could be incompetent the next week. So
that's what I'm saying. That's one thing I forgot to mention. Sorry to pause it so early. Competency is not the same thing as, that's saying she's psycho, she's crazy, she's psychotic. That's actually a little bit different. That's actually a little bit more extreme.
In the United States, competency is determined by a U.S. Supreme Court case, U.S. v. Dusky. And essentially what that case says is that you have to have the ability to work with your attorney, to collaborate with them, and have a rational and factual understanding of the charges against you. So that is the competency standard in the U.S.
But generally speaking, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I have no idea what these charges mean. I have no idea what I did wrong. Is that typically what you see in an evaluation that raises a concern of competency?
As a general principle, yes, absolutely.
And what could be the reasons for a lack of competency?
So there are so many different reasons. I watched the Instagram video that she had posted prior to the incident, and you clearly have someone who has poor impulse control, is emotionally dysregulated, has escalating anger, repeated frustration.
And you can tell how she talks. It's like spurts. It's like, when somebody talks in that type of pattern, most of the time it's signified that something's wrong. When everybody saw her videos, every single person said, "I can tell that something is off." White, black, whatever. Every single person of every which way of the planet was seeing her videos saying the same exact thing. And just for the record, yes, if a person is not fit to stand trial, they don't get let back out into the public. They go straight to a mental facility.
And feels powerless over her situation and, feels that she's being subjected to this perceived injustice. There are so many different things here in the differential, and obviously I've never examined her, so I can't make a diagnosis. But I think about things like psychosis, a personality disorder, substance use, perhaps repeated exposure to trauma. And I believe there was a prior incident of a stabbing that she was associated with. I don't know that for certain, but so we have someone where there was a history of violence prior to the incident.
How common is it for defense attorneys to request these competency evaluations based on their own observations? It'd be one thing if there was a police report, right, or from another mental health professional, but based on their own observations, is that unusual to you?
No, it's not. The court can request it. The defense attorney can request it. It is interesting that she didn't want the evaluation. I almost feel like, she doesn't want to be perceived as mentally ill or crazy. But there were a lot of very concerning things that happened prior to this, and it seems like it was something that was building over time.
She's in her own shoes, so she can't tell. She's at the point to where is she self-aware? Some people are self-aware and they go in and out of it. She's in it like permanently.
The fact that she reportedly objected to it, like you said, doesn't really factor into the process. I mean, does it suggest anything diagnostically?
Not necessarily, not one thing or the other. But again, the fact that her attorney requested it, to me, leads me to believe that her attorney was seeing something that was concerning that required a further assessment.
Can someone, let's be clear about this, someone can still be found to be competent to stand trial, but they can still raise a mental health defense, right? They can still maybe put forward an insanity defense if the jurisdiction allows that and it affects their culpability in some way, right? This doesn't preclude that.
Two separate things, yes. Someone can still raise an insanity defense. That's completely separate. Now, in this particular case, someone can be mentally ill and still be competent. So mental illness per se does not.
So she almost kind of has two chances. If the competency, she's competent, she passes that, she's and then they raise the insanity thing to take it up another step. Oh my goodness. I'm not going to be surprised. Anything that she gets, if she ends up getting, I'm not going to be surprised even if she gets out, because of the fact that the past week, I've seen some people get some charges I did not even expect. Sidebar real quick. Give me 15 seconds about the lady with the 2 kids in the trunk of her car. She didn't get murder and she was carrying them around for like a year. And then the one lady who was babysitting on the body cam ended up unaliving a baby because got frustrated with the baby, swallowed the baby and stuff like that. And she admitted to it. They both admitted to it. One lady killed 2 and it was another one. And she harmed a baby before. Only one of them got murder. I think they both should have got murder. One got, with the 2 in the trunk, got bodily harm with death or something like that, and only got 50 years. These charges are crazy, man. Like, I don't know what's happening right now.
I mean, incompetent. It's a specific evaluation.
The fact that she wanted to be referred to this by this other name, we can get into the idea of multiple names, multiple identities. Did that suggest anything to you?
I think about delusions. I think about psychosis when I hear something like that. But again, there's just so much information that we would need. For example, was she treated for a prior mental health condition? Was she under the care of a psychiatrist? These are things I'd want to know. Talk to people that were around her in the hours and days.
The people that were around her said that she rejected help repeatedly. The boyfriend, the family, his family offered help. Now, I don't know about her own family. She seemed like she ran away from her own family. People were saying she didn't like her dad. She ran away from her dad. She was making songs about abuse and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know if that's going to play a role in it. I don't know if her family's going to show up in court or whatever. She rejected help multiple times from her job and everybody else. So
prior to the incident, those are all important things.
And the judge read off that there's no mental health listed on your history, no medicine, no nothing.
Moreover, as we talk about what this case might look like, and we don't really know if a mental health defense would be presented or not, but from a forensic psychiatrist point of view, how do they distinguish between anger or a personality disorder or a break from reality? Is it a mixture of a bunch of different factors? What should we be looking out for?
So those are not necessarily mutually exclusive. For example, someone can have a psychiatric disorder. They can also have a personality disorder. They can have both. But a personality disorder is usually a pervasive pattern of behavior that affects them in multiple domains of functioning. And they can also have an organic psychiatric condition like psychosis, where they're literally detached from reality and they're having paranoia, they're having hallucinations, they're having delusions. So you can have all of those things together, but they obviously require you to sort of parse things apart to figure out what is causing what.
What about the schizophrenia, the voices in her head?
Let me go back to Muhammad's Instagram and the declaration that she made there. So on her account, Official Risen Phoenix, where she has more than 24,000 followers, Muhammad posted 2 videos just days before the stabbing, ranting about her manager Jennifer Harris sending her home early. And in one of the clips, wearing her McDonald's hat, Muhammad seethes with frustration.
I got sent home early yesterday. I got sent home early today by the same person. I'm telling you, she's a bully. This isn't funny. She needs to understand that just because she's a mother and got children doesn't mean that she can come in this store, disrespecting people, talking to them like everybody's beneath her. She has no respect. And it isn't funny at all. She brings a lot of negative energy in there. She always panic when there's a lot going on.
Now, also, I'll say this. I have seen interviews and videos of people that are locked up for life for murder that act exactly like her. And these people that you see locked up for murder doing these interviews, in the interviews, they literally sound like they're crazy. You'll be like, oh, this person's crazy. They need to be locked up. They didn't get out on insanity or anything. And people are seeing them locked up saying, oh, they're insane too. So that's a thing too. So something to think about. Hey, you never know.
She tried to manipulate that to make it seem like we ain't doing something right, but we are working really hard and doing great. It's just the fact that she panicked, and I caught her a few times making a mistake, and she tried to hurry up and play it off. Nobody's perfect. It's God, it happens. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, somebody might get confused. So it gets busy, yeah. But she needs to stop playing like she don't be making mistakes. I be catching her.
And then she delivers what now could arguably sound like an ominous warning.
But to get sent home 2 days in a row, man, and I came in on my off day to make up my time, and she still sends me home early, it's not funny. Somebody will have to do something about that. It's not funny. It's not fair. It isn't funny at all. So, she could keep being a bully if she wants to, but that is going to catch up to her. Because it ain't funny at all. It ain't.
2 days later, prosecutors say that's exactly what happened. Now, if you haven't been following the case, here's what police say went down. Jennifer Harris, longtime McDonald's employee, mother of 6, reportedly sent Muhammad home early on July 10th following a workplace dispute. Okay? Before leaving, Muhammad allegedly told Harris she'd be back. And she wasn't bluffing, or at least according to police, because according to them, Muhammad drove to a nearby park, retrieved a knife from her car, returned to the restaurant wearing a hooded mask to conceal her identity. She allegedly entered through the back, ambushed Harris, and stabbed her up to 15 times in front of coworkers. You have a legally armed customer in the drive-thru who heard the commotion, fired a warning shot into the air, caused Muhammad to allegedly drop the knife and flee. The witness apparently chases her down, holds her at gunpoint until police arrived. In fact, here's how Eastpointe police described it on Facebook. The employee returned a short time later armed with a knife. The employee proceeded to stab the victim, whom she had the prior dispute with. A customer who witnessed the assault fired a shot to stop the attack. No one was struck by the bullet. The suspect attempted to flee the scene but was detained by the witness. Eastpointe officers arrived a short time later and took the suspect into custody. The victim was rushed to a local hospital where she passed away from her wounds. So Muhammad now faces charges of first-degree murder, carrying a dangerous weapon with unlawful intent. Dr. Bober, from your perspective, what could be the tone and the content of those Instagram posts? What does that reveal potentially about her mental state leading up to the days of this attack? Assuming she did it, right? Because she is innocent until proven guilty.
Right. So it was really an angry rant where she was venting out all her frustrations about the way she was treated. And if you listen to the Instagram post, she says basically, and I'm paraphrasing, that someone is going to do something about this. So there really was a lead up to this if in fact she did it. And it does seem premeditated. We know that she went to the park. She returned to the McDonald's to stab her manager if again it occurred. And she was wearing a mask. So there does seem to be premeditation. There does seem to be acts at...
I think that's a picture of her when she was doing she does her like cleaning service and stuff like that.
Concealing the crime. So all these things would be important to know.
Allegedly concealing her identity, doesn't that defeat a potential insanity defense? Because the argument would be she knows what she's doing is illegal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely works against that. It definitely shows that she targeted her manager, that she planned it, that she tried to conceal her identity. All this plays into it.
Again, taking all of this is true. If someone feels disrespected or someone feels they're bullied, what does that trigger exactly? Does it trigger an anger response? Does it trigger Again, if we're talking about mental health, a delusion, paranoia, those alleged slights, how does that factor into the analysis?
So listen, it really depends. We as human beings in society, we probably get treated poorly at times and we feel slighted. But, if we have ego strength and we have self-esteem and we are able to emotionally regulate ourselves, then we just move on. But for people who are suffering from mental illness, who have a low frustration tolerance, who have paranoia, who see the world through a distorted lens, who feel humiliated, those are people that may act out with rage or aggression.
And the 15 times, what does that tell you?
That tells me that it was very, very up close and personal, that she was filled with rage, that it just boiled over and it just exploded, and that she was completely unable to exercise restraint at that point.
You go to Muhammad's arraignment, July 11th. So her defense team argued for bond, revealing that she had this history of trauma and abuse.
She was in an extremely abusive relationship that was not only mental but physical, that involved alcohol issues, which is where the habitual second stems from, and her prior record.
But prosecutors, they quickly pushed back, and they dropped a major revelation that Muhammad had a previous stabbing conviction.
And then finally, the defendant does have a prior instance of at least one that I'm aware that involved a stabbing, similar obviously to the stabbing that occurred in this case, involving a knife. So given all of those factors, and given the fact that this court does have authority to give no bond to defendants charged with murder, I am asking at this time for no bond in this case.
Yeah, it turns out, according to...
It's like she was on probation for one stabbing. So does she have... This is her third stabbing? That because if the Taco Bell one turns out to not be true or something like that, even though apparently it did happen, nobody's debunking anything that worked at Taco Bell, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, the girl at Taco Bell, I guess she didn't press charges, but the boyfriend before, the boyfriend she did music with, that's the one that even the boyfriend that she lived with found about, that she actually was on probation for. So the alcohol abuse, the abusive relationship or whatever, that's the mystery guy that we still don't know who that is yet. That's way long ago. And I guess we'll never get the details on that unless she says so in the future, or he comes out and says, hey, I'm the guy. You know what I mean? So I guess she only has that one from the boyfriend and then this new one. The Taco Bell one, if I can remember, did the judge read that one off? The judge read something off. I could have swore the judge said Taco. I had to go back and look at the video because the judge did read that she does have another one. Now I'm trying to figure out, was it the Taco Bell one or the boyfriend previous? But I think it was the boyfriend previous because it was mentioned that she was on probation from that one, from the Gravity 313 boyfriend, the white dude with the glasses, that she stole all his music. Okay. I think I got it.
To the Macomb County Assistant Prosecutor that in March of 2022, Muhammad had pled guilty in Virginia to unlawful wounding without malicious intent. She was sentenced to 4 years, but the sentence was suspended and she served only probation. Now, the judge in the current case ultimately did grant her bond, tune of $25 million, along with a long list of strict conditions should she be released. Those include wearing a steel-cut GPS tether, remaining in Michigan, reporting any address changes within 24 hours, submitting to daily check-ins with community corrections, undergoing alcohol and drug testing, having no contact with Jennifer Harris's family or any witnesses, and staying away from the crime scene, the McDonald's location where all this occurred. And according to inmate records, it appears she is still behind bars at the Macomb County Jail. Dr. Bober, let me turn to you on this. So how does a history or an apparent history of trauma and abuse, both mental and physical, if we're listening to what the defense had to say, how does that typically impact an individual's mental health or behavior?
So when we talk about previous trauma, we're talking about the part of the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is the part of the brain that is responsible for a fear and aggression response. And people who have trauma, sometimes this area of the brain can be overactive and it responds in a very primal way. So people who have a trauma history, who are exposed or triggered to certain situations, may act in a way that is irrational because of that prior trauma. The trauma affects them and sets them up for this in the future. So that is something to consider in her diagnosis and in looking at how she's charged with the crime.
And I got to say, I'm amazed by this Virginia conviction, right? We could talk legally about why she was out, how she was out, what the rules are there. But the point is, from a forensic psychiatric perspective, you know, how might Muhammad's prior stabbing conviction, which is just so eerily similar to what she's accused of now, how does that factor into the analysis because you're talking about an alleged repeat offender?
Well, it certainly increases her risk for future violence. Having a prior incident and now this incident, but it begs the question, was there some underlying condition that...
Usually you see this happen, and they have little stuff happens, then it goes up to they get their first body, then another body, then another one, and another one, and another one. So this is her first one. Who knows if she would have got more. If she would have just said, you know, I did it once, I can do it again. Y'all pissing me off. I got to do something about this. The universe got to do something about this. You know, and that's probably what she was on. We don't know, but we've seen this pattern too many times. And we still don't know about the roommate, because if he's unalived and it turns out to be by her, it takes it up to a whole nother level.
That was untreated. Did she never receive the services that it seems like she needed to treat this condition? So there needs to be a firm diagnosis. There needs to be treatment. And all this plays into it along with the competency evaluation.
Well, he's agreeing there needs to be treatment, and he's an expert. So,
Dr. Bober, I want to explore some other psychological aspects of this case because we did a deep dive into Afeni Muhammad's Instagram and TikTok accounts, and we came across some very deeply disturbing and unsettling content. For example, in one TikTok video, Muhammad is seen holding 2 boxes of Play-Doh, doing absolutely nothing except staring at them in complete silence.
Supposedly, this is part of... I was messaging a girl talking about this, and she said she knows people that are into this. This is apparently something along the lines of witchcrafty stuff. If somebody tell me if I'm wrong. She said this is some of the stuff. I don't know what it is exactly, but
for a full minute, there's no explanation, there's no context, just blank staring, but it gets even stranger. So in this clip, she's seen brandishing a knife, then kissing it, and this was also posted before the killing, by the way. And then just one day before the killing, she posted this to Instagram. And the video shows a birthday cake with the word abracadabra written in icing. And then it cuts to Muhammad wearing a ski mask style hoodie. Strange, Dr. Bober, to say the least, but...
Yeah, I saw that too. The abracadabra poof, and then you got the Jason thing on. It's like, all right.
From your analysis, and by the way, would this factor into any analysis by a mental health professional during the course of this case, and how would it?
So not necessarily for competency, but maybe for an insanity defense. Because again, a competency evaluation is not static. She may be competent right now. She may not be competent 3 days from now. But for example, someone who has a history of psychosis or departure from reality, or who is delusional, this may have impacted her during the crime itself. And that's why an evaluation for sanity would have to be done, or a criminal responsibility.
Now, the other way of looking at it is, a defense attorney could probably say, hey, listen, she's creative, she's an artist, right? This has no relation to the actual crime, but it's very hard to separate it. It's very hard to separate what she's accused of from these posts. You have to ask, warning signs?
Throughout this she's saying, if I put it all together, I'm not crazy. I did it. And they're saying, you saying that? You look crazy and sound crazy. That's how we know you're crazy, because you're saying it like the way you're saying it. If that's what I'm saying here.
Red flag? I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming she did this.
It's one piece of information that has to be taken with everything else.
And again, what more, if you had the opportunity to speak with her, what would you like to know?
Oh, I would have so many questions. I would want to know, again, about prior mental health history. I'd want to know if she used substances. I would want to know about her trauma history. I'd want to know about similar incidents. These are all things I'd want to know. I'd want to talk to the people that she lives with, the people that she's friends with. Obviously, it would be helpful to have access to her social media and obviously any forms of electronic communication.
By the way, how can you make sure that she's telling the truth? How can you make sure that when during an evaluation, a mental health evaluation of some kind during the course of a legal case, that the subject is being transparent with you about their past, about their motivations? If she's asked about why did she make these videos, how can you determine whether or not that subject is being credible?
So you look for corroborating information, you look for collateral sources of information, and if all you have is the subject, then you would state in your report, that all information was provided solely by her and there were no other sources of information. So obviously that is going to maybe cast doubt on the veracity of the information. But you would state it in the report, but you do everything you can to try to speak to collaterals, to try to look at other sources of information besides the subject.
Now, let me just go back to Jennifer Harris here, the victim in this case. So her death has left her 6 children without a mother. We can't forget that. A GoFundMe, the Jennifer Harris Legacy Fund, has been set up to support her children. And we're going to put it up there if you want to check it out, participate, donate of some kind. But that GoFundMe reads, through this fund, Jennifer's legacy of strength.
I think that's an old screenshot because the one I saw, it was already at like 40 something thousand.
Compassion and dedication will continue to guide and uplift her children. Resources from the trust will be used to support their educational journeys from early learning through higher education, as well as their overall well-being and personal development as they grow into adulthood. The Jennifer Harris Legacy Fund is a reflection of her lifelong commitment to family, opportunity, and the belief in a bright future. It ensures that her children are surrounded by the care, guidance, and support they need to thrive, and that her spirit will continue to shape their lives for years to come. So with Muhammad's mental evaluation pending, the next hearing is set for September 3rd. Dr. Daniel Bober, thank you so much for taking the time. It was good seeing you.
All right. Links down below for the original. Go show him some love and support. Law and Crime Sidebar with Jesse Weber.